at it. So on the test next week, you will have to do an MLU. You will have to do grammatical morphemes. So on the grammatical morphemes, I will be asking you just to pick out, I'll give you maybe 3 sentences, and you will have to list the grammatical morphemes in that sentence. Now remember, I said grammatical morphemes. Grammatical morphemes, would not be all the morphemes, because there are bound morphemes, and not all bound morphemes are the grammatical morphemes. Okay, and there are unbound or free morphemes. Okay, so what you'll have to do is to give me one of these 14 grammatical morphemes. We'll have to pinpoint them out. Then I will ask you also, or that might not be and, it might be or I will ask you, what is this grammatical morpheme? So if it is he is running, then you'll have to, and I'll say, what grammatical, let's see, write the grammatical morpheme and tell me what morpheme it is, what grammatical morpheme it is. So it is he is running. So is would be contractible auxiliary. That would be is. So you would write is, contractible auxiliary. And then you would write ing, progressive. That's what you would write. And I will, do the ones that I think are like the most obvious. You will have the contractible auxiliary, uncontractable auxiliary, contractible and uncontractible copulas. You will have, ing, because when you do auxiliaries, you almost always have an ing, right? So you will do that. Let's see. I mean, I may throw in an ed that I don't expect for you to, miss ed, and probably a possessive versus a plural to see if you can pinpoint the difference between possessive and plural. And I may not do ed because I think ed is too easy. No, they're not always questions. For example, he was. That's an uncontractable. That's an uncontractable. He was hungry. That's an uncontractable copula. He was eating. That's an uncontractable auxiliary. So you can't say he was. You can't say he was, but he is eating is contractible because you can say he's eating. No. These are good questions. Y'all making me think. What hard questions. Oh gosh, I have to go back to grammar school. Okay, so no, for example, if somebody says, is he eating? And then the answer is, he is. You see, so that phrase, that sentence, that's a sentence. He is, well, that's a phrase. He is, that's a complete utterance. He is, and it's an answer to the question. But you can't say he's. But he is acceptable to the listener, but he's isn't when you answer that question. So there you go. Oh my God, don't ask me any other hard questions? And let me tell you, Ellen, the reason I said it's a hard question because I could not remember from graduate school, and when I became a postdoc at Vanderbilt, I had to ask. I said, could you please go over, a couple of examples of an uncontractable auxiliary, because I could not think of one, or an uncontractable copula, And so, the person, gave it to me. She laughed. I said, I'm sorry if I'm supposed to know this already. So, probably, when you get past my class and past language development in graduate school, you'll never think about this again. So, all righty. So that will be, so the test will have some of the, because I want to make sure that you're looking at it and thinking about it. And the only way that I can make sure that you're doing it is to do it on a test. And to push you to go ahead and not wait for the last minute to do it, okay? Ooh. Also, while I'm thinking about it, in terms of language samples, I think, looked at either 6 or 7 of you, so I have about 7 of you left to do, and I'm going to do that tonight so that you can go ahead and get started on your analysis. When I end class tonight, I'm going to review your language samples and approve or not approve. Okay. All right, so there you go. So tonight we're going to try to, I'm going to review a little bit on the cognitive. We'll talk about executive functions. 0 to 2, I think we did some of 0 to 2, right? And then continue 0 to 2, and then finish with building blocks. All right? Maybe we didn't. I think we did. I don't know. So I know we talked about Piaget stages, but I just want to go over this critical review. The fact that I'm going over it again should be a big hint to you that I may ask you, what is it that researchers find problematic about Piaget stages? And so one of the things could be that these stages are not bound by age. So he gives you these ages, that the sensory motor stage is 0 to 2. And then the pre-operational stage, 2 to 4, and then you have 4 to 7, I believe, and then 7 to 12 or something like that. It goes up to 12. And however, they found that some 2-year-olds, are not necessarily in the pre-operational stage. They don't necessarily go to the pre-operational stage that quickly. And there may be some 20-month-olds who are in the pre-operational stage, and they're not even 24 months yet, but they're more 20, they're more advanced. And I told you about my niece, that she was speaking in sentences at 18 months. And I just said, my God, she's a genius. Turned out, she's not a genius, but she's very, very alert and very smart. But, and she's talkative now, just very talkative. She can just out-talk anyone. But that started very, very young for her. So she would not have fit in Piaget's box. She would have been ahead in his box. So you have to understand that you don't want to, you want to look at it more as a guide. And also his stages, the sensory motor and pre-operational stages may be occurring simultaneously, so a lot of overlap, and you don't want to go, oh, I got to do sensory motor stage, and before I can go to pre-operational stage, then that person has to complete sensory motor stage, and that is just so typical of speech pathologists. I can't go here until they complete this, and then I'll go here. It must be step by step, easiest first, and then less, and then a little harder, then a little harder, and then hard. There are so many different views about that. Some people believe in doing harder and then going simple. Some people believe in going simple and then going hard, and some have a little mismatch. So I just want to, let you know, I don't want you to be so stuck in this developmental stuff. And you can achieve one concept without necessarily achieving the other. So you don't have to wait and have object permanence before you have something else. So they're saying those are just some little flaws, little questions that other theorists have about his stages. But let me tell you, people use these stages now, and therefore they're pretty strong. Okay. Oh, where is it? Oh, right here. Hold on, let me get my little arrow. Good question, Brad. Right here. So one of the tests to decide, like if you're a therapist and you're working with a child, usually normal children, typical children, they go through these stages and nobody tests them. There's nobody, Piaget was looking for it because he wanted to write about child development. But as a parent, nobody is looking to see. Most children, if you had something at a certain point, they will hunt for it and they will find it. They'll know that it's under something, that it hasn't disappeared. So what they're saying is whenever you have a child in there and you cover it up, you can't say, well, he didn't lift the blanket, so it must mean he thinks the ball is gone. So therefore, he does not have object permanence. But a child can have object permanence even if he doesn't lift the blanket. Maybe the ball wasn't a strong enough stimulation to stimuli for him to want to lift the blanket. Maybe his attention span is so short that he just decided not to, he doesn't want to play that anymore. So you can't just, there are other ways that you have to look at it. Yeah. So one of the, on a test, you'll see on a test, oh, I said I was going to introduce you to a test. I'm going to try to remember to do that since I'm back at work now. That, one of the things is, does the child lift the blanket to try to find a hidden object? And that's why your author put that example in there. Because a lot of therapists, especially new people, they will put down, oh, he didn't lift the blanket, and they'll take away points. But if a child is trying to produce words, okay, whether he lifts your blanket or not, if he has a prototype word, he has object permanence, people. He has object permanence. You have to have object permanence according to Piaget and according to other theories, in order to produce a word. So for me, if they're producing words, I don't test for object permanence. Even if they have one word, that suggests to me that they know objects exist even when they're not in their sight. Because a word is symbolism. A word a child cannot see, and he understands that word that he says that he cannot see means something concrete. Ah! Oh, Fred. Yes, just take it slow. Be patient. Let your child have some fun. I know your baby's a genius, but, let's just wait a little bit longer. So, there you are. Any other questions? Oh, well, the signs will be, I never looked for the signs. The signs, in terms of object permanence, I just don't do it. The only time I do these kinds of things is with children who have special needs. They have cognitive impairment. So if your child is doing eye gaze with you, we're going to be going over that in a few minutes. They're looking at the object. Like you show them a bottle and they look at the bottle. You take that bottle away, you do an eye gaze, Fran, since you are so anxious, I'm going to tell you. Take that bottle and go from left to right. And if that baby follows you, that's great. And then when you're talking about the bottle or talking about an object or toy the baby likes, that's called joint attention. If that child has joint attention, is looking at the bottle at the same time you're looking at it, and you're saying bottle, you want your bottle, or toy, whatever the toy is, pacifier or your pacifier, they're looking at it with you, and they give you eye contact, then that child is on the normal path of developing object permanence, of developing the idea that words have meaning, that what you're saying to them will take on the meaning of that object. So eye gaze, ability to track, ability to have joint attention. Those are some of the early signs of object permanence. Look at Susan. We don't have time for this. Drooling doesn't count. No. Y'all are funny. Susan, actually, Bradley's questions are good because the less that I get to, this might be his strategy, the less will be on your test. So you might want to say, ask more questions, Bradley. Ask her about Buddy. That'll really get her going. Okay, so that's what some students used to do. I caught on to it. Cognitive development varies because there is a dependency between biology and interaction. So it is, Susan messing up, Brad. Yeah, she's, so, okay. So a child who's biology, so biology they're really talking about cognitive. So let's just cut through the chase. They're talking about intelligence, what your DNA has given you, what your parents have given you in terms of your ability to learn. Now sometimes it's not your parents' fault. Don't blame them. Sometimes it really isn't their fault. Sometimes internal, when you were developing as a baby, the genes got a little screwy. And, you know, some of the DNA, you know, those pairs of genes, they got an extra gene, an extra leg, you know, those kinds of things, or a leg was cut off, you know, some mutations occurred, and you may end up with a child with cognitive impairments, or a child with learning disabilities, a child with some type of syndrome. And therefore, their biology is going to make it so that they're going to have an optimal level of what they can achieve. And it also involves the interaction with the environment. So biology and interaction with the environment, it's very, very important. And you want to have a positive, stimulating environment without it being overstimulating. And you don't want the environment to be negative stimulation, but positive. So the general time frame for Piaget's cognitive abilities is good, but there is variation within a specific time frame. Okay, and I think we went over all of that. Object permanence, I'm going to tell you, you need to know object permanence, causality, means end. You need to know imitation, what that is, and you need to know what deferred imitation is, and you need to know just general about play, that play is cognitive development. Playing is helping them to develop problem solving. It's helping them to develop symbolism. Symbolic play is very important. Hey, Colleen is writing something. Now, I hope Colleen's not going to ask me about Buddy. Also, you had to look at this movie regarding the McGurk effect. Can anyone tell me, oh, deferred. Okay, thank you, Colleen. Oh, deferred imitation is just the child saying it at a different time. Where is it? Right, no? Oh, let's see this way. That's right here. Let's suppose I've been going over cookie, and the child has not said cookie. And then one day, maybe 2 days later, maybe a day later, maybe a few hours later, you're just looking at TV and all of a sudden the child says cookie. You're like, oh. The child has remembered that word, but they feel that it's still an imitation that has come later. Especially if they're playing with the word. Cookie, you know, it's not really like a request. So that may occur around 9 months. And sometimes it occurs even earlier. It may be like a babble. You know how we babble, play babble, or goo-goo, baby talk with our kids, that type of thing. And it's not really, it may or may not be a communicative intent. It may or may not be. You have to decide that based on the context. So that's why I make y'all do language samples, because you can see how context can play an important aspect in the child's ability to communicate. Now, the McGurk effect. So I need from you, the McGurk effect. How is that important for the child? It says that the visual perception helps listeners perceive speech when the auditory signal has been degraded. And children use visual cues. So what does all of this mean? Can you give me an example as to, you know, how the McGurk effect may affect a child's ability to, may affect it positively or negatively, ability to learn language, speech. Well, speech and language. Well, speech is tied to language. Very early on, speech and language kind of go together. Oh, sight impairment. Well, let's say he doesn't have sight impairment. His vision is normal. Well, yeah, it says to use visual cues, but I need more, Susan, because I say they use visual cues. Who can help? Who can give me an example, a concrete kind of example of what this what this could mean, you know. But how can you actually understand what I'm talking about? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I like this better. Now, do you see? I love the way this is worded. Who is this? I have to go scroll up to see who this is. Is this? Oh, this is Ellen. Okay. Hi, Ellen. Let's see. It may show the connect. It does. Children really watch your mouths. Well, watch your baby. Brad, watch your baby. The baby will start really watching your mouth very intently. And trying to figure out, you know, how to move their own mouths to try to get that adult-like production. So when you're saying it, and however, suppose they can't see you. You know how you're still talking to baby, but you're not looking directly at baby. Maybe you're cooking dinner and baby's right there on the counter, or you're looking at someone else, and baby is lower. You know, baby's on the counter in that little car seat kind of thing. And then, so they're a little lower, and you're kind of tall, and you're looking at someone else. But baby's looking at you, but, you know, they may not see your mouth in the same way. So if you notice, if you don't see the lip movement, but you hear the sound, it can be misinterpreted for a different sound if you don't see the lip movement. And if you do see the lip movement, then your brain will tell you it's a specific sound. If you see someone biting their lip, you're going to think it's ba. If you see somebody's lips together, you're going to think it's ba. Especially if you don't quite hear what they're saying. You see what I'm saying? If you don't quite hear what they're saying, and you don't have the visual cue, it could sound like one thing. And then if you have the visual cue, it could sound like another thing. It could sound like something else. Because your vision will tend to overpower your auditory. And without the vision, your auditory takes over, but it could be right or it could be wrong. Well, with the McGurk effect, no. But with children learning language, yes. But not with the McGurk effect is, you know, using what something sounds like with no visual cues and what something sounds like with visual cues, and how people can misunderstand what is being said based on the fact of what they think the person is saying based on the way their lips are moving. And that's the McGurk effect. So children use visual cues. So in saying this is what I'm saying to you. Go eye contact down to the child's level when you're talking to the child. Some people just don't do that. The child is looking up. Think how distorted that is, and looking at your lips. The child is looking up. You know, you may be looking. Anyway, it's, you know, get down on their level, especially when you're trying to have a conversation or talk with them, that type of thing, because that could help with their speech development, because for them the visual cues are very important. Okay. And I definitely have problems. So that was the McGurk effect. All right, so now executive functions. Executive functions are also cognitive skills. Executive functions happen in the frontal lobe. That's what they feel it is, executive functions. So attention is in the frontal lobe. Working memory is in the frontal lobe. To inhibit responses that are irrelevant, frontal lobe. So guess what, think about children who have problems with maintaining attention, inhibiting irrelevant kinds of behaviors, verbal behaviors, maybe some difficulties with remembering, following directions because they can't hold the directions in their head in the class because that's what your working memory is, your immediate memory to your working memory. What disorder does this put you in mind of? ADHD, that's right. They feel that children who have ADHD, there are some issues going on, and they're not sure, you know, there's not structural issues because they've done these scans. Now, I think they may say that the frontal lobe might be a little smaller with kids with ADHD, but they don't see a real structural damage, but there may be some the way the signal is transmitted in the brain, the axons and the dendrites and the electrical current flow, how that is happening in the brain for children with ADHD. So children with ADHD have problems with executive functions. Executive functions. They have problems with maintaining attention. They have problems with inhibiting irrelevant associations. So they're going to say something inappropriate. They haven't thought about what it is they're going to say. It comes out inappropriate. Guess what? They get into trouble in school, and they are labeled behavior problems because they can't inhibit their anger. They can't inhibit if they get frustrated, and they may say something inappropriate because they can't inhibit their frustration. They also have trouble with their working memory, maintaining the information because they can't maintain the attention. If you can't maintain the attention, you can't maintain it in your working memory. So all of those things are issues for ADHD. And little kids develop this, and they will have a short attention, shorter working memory, but they outgrow it as their brain develops, and the brain makes more and more connections, and the neuronal development the neurons get bigger, and the axons get faster. And so, but for some children, that is delayed or slowed down, and therefore they maintain these kind of behaviors that younger children exhibit. So sometimes that's why they say, let's hold them back a grade, give them some time, you know, to mature. It's because that frontal lobe is still developing. And as a matter of fact, the frontal lobe, they found, does not finish developing until the 20s, especially in men. I'm so sorry, Brad, don't take offense to this. And that's why men take more risks. They do a lot of, in addition to the testosterone. But it's that frontal lobe functioning that is a problem as well. Not a problem, but not fully developed in the early 20s. I see Brad is writing. Yes, Brad, some SLPs actually do that. I don't. I do teach self-taught. I teach self-taught to help with memory, help with working memory. I do with my adults. I do that with adults. I haven't done that with children because now I'm working with adults. And my children I work with children who were really low functioning. So we had other more important things to work with. But I didn't do self-taught. That was a little bit more, that's more complex type thing. But yes, you can. Yes, you can. And I mean, we can do we borrow from lots of different disciplines. And, but we do have some preferred practice patterns. And not many people do that self-taught or mindfulness. Yeah. Okay, so executive functions, controlled attention. This is the capacity to maintain and hold relevant information, just like now. As I'm talking to you, all of you remember, I know, if I gave you a quiz right now, you would remember that these executive functions take place in what lobe? Which lobe in the brain? That's the frontal. And what disorder did I say? They have problems with executive functions, ADHD. That was, you know, your ability. You have controlled attention, your capacity to maintain and hold relevant information. For example, this is an example. If you're reading on a novel and you're on a noisy plane, you're not bothered by the noise. I mean, you might be bothered by it, but you can habituate the noise. Remember that word, habituation? You can habituate the noise and it won't bother you. But children who have executive function problems, frontal lobe issues, they can't read the novel. The noise, they're looking around. What's that? What's the noise? Oh, what's that buzz? Who's that? What did she say? What's going on? Oh, I'm bored. You know, there's no reading going on there. Or let's say children who have autism. the noise on the plane may bother them. And therefore, they're not going to learn anything or pay attention to something when they are bothered. I mean, when you're in pain, you can't learn, right? Like, if I'm in pain, I got to take a headache, I got to take a painkiller or something to numb it so that I can pay attention. And so let's just take a child with autism. And even if it's not painful, it's disturbing to them. If it's a certain noise and they're putting their hands over their ears, or they don't want you to touch them. I mean, if they're in a classroom and all this sensory stuff is going on and they can't take it, they're not going to, they can't pay attention. You know what I mean? Therefore, they're not going to learn because there are other things they have to attend to within their body to get a balance. So you got to be more sympathetic to, the issues going on with people who may have some executive function issues. Susan, I'm laughing because I don't know if Susan is directing that toward me. And she says that I'm stressing all of you out with all of these things I'm making you do. Susan, it would be fair if you said it. If that's a fair comment, it's okay. I've had students who say that to me. My graduate students say, Dr. Gibson, you are, and I love it, but people do that because it makes me know that they're paying attention and they're using the terminology. They said, Dr. Gibson, we are so stressed to the point that we are unable to habituate the noise in the background, and so now we don't have good working memory, and so therefore it can't be transferred to our short-term memory, let alone our long-term memory. So we just have a good laugh, at it. So I thought Susan was trying to, be funny, which I enjoy that kind of interaction, Susan, or anybody in the class. All right, so what is it? But you still have to do it. I just laugh. I just like laughing. All right, so working memory. Working memory is what you are using right now with me. It's a voluntary focus. Those of you who are paying attention to me right now and not looking at your TV, you're volunteering, deciding to focus on Dr. Gibson. And you are deciding to maintain the task, maintain your attention so that you can obtain this information I'm trying to give to you in these silly examples that I'm presenting to you, hoping that will help you remember. Okay, an example of this is reading and integrating the information you read earlier. So whatever we talked about earlier too, you can relate to what we're talking about now. You understand the building of the information. So the working memory takes everything into consideration and tries to come up with a summary, a synopsis of what was said so that you can hold on to it and transfer it. Because you're not remembering word for word what I said, right? You're not doing that. Your brain is taking a synopsis, a summary of it, and trying to hold and maintain it. That is your working memory. On your test, people who have difficulties with working memory will be people who are unable to suppress irrelevant information. So you hear the noise. Suppose my computer isn't quiet and you can hear noises, humming noise. So some of my students say, Dr. Gibson, I hear a humming noise. Can you turn something off? Because they're having a hard time listening to me because of that noise. Some people may have a hard time monitoring incoming information. And what is that, monitoring it? I'll give you an example. A person who is learning a different language. I have a bilingual person in my graduate program. And when I'm speaking to her, she says, oh, Dr. Gibson, I only got the first sentence. It takes her longer to monitor and transfer and translate all of that information And as we know, it's transient, right? Speech is transient. So once I've said a sentence, she's trying to figure out that sentence, but I've gone on to sentence 15, and she's only gotten sentence 1 through 4. So there are also other people who aren't bilingual, who may also have trouble monitoring incoming information because it's new information for one. So you're like, what did she say? What did she say? You know, could you explain that again, Dr. Gibson? So you're having a hard time monitoring incoming information because either I'm talking too fast or I'm using words that are so unfamiliar to you that you're not getting it. Most of the time I'm talking too fast. Slow process, Susan. Yeah, there you go, slow processing. So but babies, my gosh, you know, as they get older, their working memory gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they can monitor all kinds of incoming information. And then they're able to store this information. So some people will not have problems suppressing. They hear the important information. They can key into the speech and ignore all the things around them. They don't have any problems monitoring. They understand what you're saying. But some people may have problems with storing the information, how the brain organizes it. So for future retrieval, they have problems with storing the information. So you can have problems with all three, or just one or two of the three. You can have problems in different areas. And what we do is figure out your learning style and then work with that to try to help you with picking up language. But our babies won't have these difficulties if they're normal. Babies or children who are not normal may have difficulties in any of these areas. If they have difficulties with their working memory, guess what? They're going to have difficulties with vocabulary. If they have difficulties with vocabulary, they're going to have difficulties with syntax, because you have to have vocabulary words in order to build the sentences, right? So there you go. So working memory is very important. It's very important for speech pathologists to understand this concept in dealing with children who have reduced working memory. So executive functions and bilingual acquisition. So your book talks a little bit about bilingual acquisition as well. And what I did was sort of sum it up. Early exposure to more than one language may foster the inhibition and working memory skills necessary for cognitive flexibility in a variety of problem-solving situations. So here, is it saying that exposure to more than one language is good or bad, or both, or only good or only bad? I mean, what is that saying? Okay, Brandon says good. Do all of you agree with Brad? No, nobody's saying anything. Come on now, is he getting Brad's corner or not? Okay. Okay, all right, you agree, good, good, good. That's right, it is. It is good. It is good. It is good even with children with cognitive impairment. Down syndrome children, do not tell the parents, okay? He can only want to learn one language at a time because he may get confused. That is proven not to be true. It's not research-based. Research suggests that children with Down syndrome, if they're coming from bilingual parents, it is okay for them to do both languages. It is, if you have a child right now, if you know another language, teach that child both languages. They have found that it gives bilingual infants have an edge over children who are monolingual. So if I could go back, I would definitely try to figure out a way for my babies to have another language. So there you go. Okay. In bilingual children, both languages remain active, requiring the child to hold the relevant language in mind while inhibiting the non-relevant language. It is amazing to me what our brains can do. Theory of mind, mental states that develop over time to help us understand others' thoughts, feelings, and knowledge. Bilingual speakers have advanced theory of mind over monolingual speakers. I do not ask you much about theory of mind because that's not a strong suit of mine. So the only thing that I would want you to know is this right here. Now, when you get into graduate school, the instructor may talk more about theory of mind and language, but it's more like developing an empathy for others so that when you communicate with others, your communication is more effective, using the appropriate vocabulary in terms of helping your communication. All right, so now birth to two. Let's get on with that. Infant-adult interactions, we have something called motherese. Some people call it parentese. Some people call it child-directed speech, and some people call it baby talk. We also use sign language with our babies. This is how adults interact with infants, sign language. I did sign language with my babies, both of them, especially my oldest because she was unintelligible. The children can hear the unique characteristics of speech versus noise. It helps to facilitate language. They tune into speech sounds. They tune into the pitch of the parent's voice and the stress. Hold on. Have I taught y'all the word paralinguistic? Is that one of the vocabulary words? Paralinguistic aspects of speech. So paralinguistics would be pitch and stress. Linguistics, where is it? I spelled it. Would be the words and how words go together and the meaning of words. So when we speak of pitch and stress and rhythm and rate, those are all paralinguistic aspects of speech. Children who are deaf also achieve developmental milestones as well. They have their own development. Then at a certain point, I mean, they first develop similar to children who are hearing, and then they start to break off. There's an example in box 4.1 that may be a different chapter in your book, but it would be the chapter that says birth to two, and it would be in the first box. I think someone is writing. These are some examples of motherese, and I need for you to, pick out about 4 or 5. But this is so easy because you do it. You do it not only when you talk to children. For those of you who don't have children, you do it when you talk to animals, probably little puppies. I mean, I was doing it this weekend with a puppy. Higher pitch, rhythm, change your rhythm, pitch extremes, longer pauses, slower rates, shorter utterances. You use more facial expressions. Simple syntax, you repeat, and you vary your loudness. What's the difference between varying your loudness and varying your pitch? What's the acoustic differences in acoustic terms? Oh my goodness, I'm getting all these. Oh, I see 2 people writing. Frequency. Okay, I'll take amplitude, yes, amplitude. I was thinking intensity, but that's right, frequency versus amplitude. Very good. That's intensity, that's good. Either one, amplitude, intensity. Yeah, amplitude is the measures, how you measure, like in decibels. Very good. Intensity is more psychological correlate. Is it loud or is it quiet? So very good. Every culture uses Mother Reese. They have found that infants prefer speech over other sounds. This is all in your text. Infants prefer baby talk over adult talk. And this is correct. This is directly from your text, a quote. She gazes into the baby's attentive eyes and fills his discriminating ears with the lilting, soothing sounds of speech. An important bond is formed, a bond that certainly has the potential to facilitate communication acquisition. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning. Looking into your baby's eyes and talking with your baby. And your baby must look back. Think about children with autism. One of the things that the parents will tell you is that the child does not look at me. He looks through me. You think about that. So very early on, eye gaze is important. And I always look at eye gaze with all babies. It's one of the first things I do to kind of make sure that the baby is okay in terms of learning language. Contingent responding. Here you have mutual reciprocity and understanding. So the child says something or the mother says something, and it could be a babble if it's a baby. It could be words if it's a child. And then the child says something back that is related to the response. You encourage infants to attend to the exchange, encouraging infants to attend to the exchange, whether it's showing them a bottle, talking to them as you're changing their pamper, a ball, encourages or enhances language development. So all of this, some type of mutual reciprocity. And the reason they say mutual is because if the child isn't responding back to you, then it may not enhance language development. But that mutual reciprocity is what enhances language development. Sometimes a child is trying to respond back, but the parent isn't responding back. The parent is in such a hurry. Or the caregiver, if you have a caregiver who has too many babies that they're trying to attend to, then that child may not get that contingent, that mutual reciprocity or that contingent response. And that's, really not good. So be careful. If you have to work, be so careful about where you're putting your child and that your child is getting attention. If the person has, I know what the law says, if it says 5 babies to 1 caregiver, that's too many to me. That's too many in my opinion. But I didn't make the law. So you have a bunch of men making laws. I'm not sure how well-equipped men are to make these kinds of laws. So, they're not asking, I think, mothers. But that's to keep the costs down. It's not really for your baby. It's to keep the costs down so that you can afford it. And I understand all of that. I'm sorry, Brad. But anyway. But it is true. They're not asking women a lot about issues that women probably know more about than the men who are politicians. Many of them are not educated on child care either. So Brad, maybe you can help them. They'll listen to you. After taking this class. Another word you need to know would be joint reference. Here the caregiver and the child are focused on the same image. So look at that. If you have babies, start paying attention to that. It's the child looking at the same thing that I'm looking at. That's an important skill. That's a very important skill. Some requisite skills needed for joint reference. So here are the requisite skills needed for joint reference. The child needs to know how to track. So will the child follow an object? And I used to do this with my young babies, or not babies, but kids. There would be 3 or 4, but they weren't talking. So I would look to see, are they able to follow the toy, and I'd look at their eyes, and I look if they're following the toy. I would observe them playing with their parents. So that would be gaze tracking. Gaze shifting. Are they able to get a shift from one object to another? So I'd have 2 objects, one here, one there. Then I would put one up, and I put the other one up. Can they shift to the different objects? This is coordinated attention, that they're able to coordinate what they pay attention to. And if they're able to do tracking and gaze shifting, then you can work on joint referencing. At 12 months, the child should be able to do all of these things. They're doing shifting and tracking very, very early. And joint reference, I think it happens at about 6, 7 months, something like that. By the time the child is 12 months, he should be able to produce a name of an object. They have found that children who do not do joint referencing, they will be delayed in talking. Children who don't have good gaze tracking will also, they found that those babies are delayed in talking as well. So these are early behaviors that predict that the child will talk on time. Now, let me tell you, 12 months is just the average, and all of these have ranges. So, you have to just use your judgment. And what I tell parents is, by the time the child is 2.5, you want to see 2-word utterances. I give them 6 months after two-word utterances. And I tell the parents, do basic signs. I said use gestures and speech together. Do all these things together. Talk more with your child, all of these things. If you feel that your child is delayed at 2, then just pump it up a little bit. Do a little more verbal interaction. And then bring them back to me at 2.5 and let's see where we are. But if a child isn't saying words at 12 months, I don't panic, and I tell my parents not to panic yet. By 18 months, they should be saying some single words. By 18 months, single words. If they're not saying it by 18 months, then I am panicking at 18 months if I don't hear single words at 18 months. All right. So prior to the first year, mothers will treat the utterances as if they are meaningful and intentional. Prior to the first year, we treat them as if they're meaningful. Whether they are or not, we act like they are. We're so thrilled, And we'll say, oh, he's talking, but, he may not be talking. Oh, my, I started using sign language with my babies early. 3 months, 4 months, they couldn't do it. But they started doing it at 8 months, and then I would even try to help my baby do more. And my baby started doing more at 8 months. My oldest. But I started doing the signs, showing her the signs as early as 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Because I'm a speech pathologist. I just did it. I did it. I was playing because I took up, I had taken these classes. And I was just trying to do different things with my babies. Not really. Yeah, ASL, I just did, it's not sentences. So I did words like more, up, down, gestures for more, up, down. No spelling, no sign, no A, B, C, not that kind of alphabet. It's actual words, not an alphabet. Okay? So you have to get a sign language book. It could be ASL, but not the alphabet. I just want to make sure. Shoe, I taught her shoe, sock. Bathroom was a big one. I taught her bathroom. Things. Oh, yes, no. I did little easy things, but I just started that very early. She wasn't using them herself. She would start using them herself expressively until she was around 14 months. Yeah. Let's see, what is this? Yes, it is cute. It is cute, Colleen. I loved it. I know, my baby. It is so cute. Yes, and it doesn't stop teaching them that. It does not stop them from talking. So you can teach them that, but also talk with it. If you do the sign, talk as you do it. Yeah. So infant, adult. So Brad, your baby's just gonna be really ready. Infant adult interaction. So listen to this now. Genius, yes. Quantity of parental talk. Quantity. So how much? Didn't say quality, it said quantity. So people used to say quality, but now they're realizing quantity. Quantity of parental talk is correlated to the variation in children's IQ and language ability. So what does correlation mean? Correlation just means, doesn't mean cause and effect. Just because you talk to your child doesn't mean he's going to have a high IQ. But they have found that parents who talk to their children more, that these babies ended up with higher IQs and higher language skills at, the age of 7 and 8. So how about that? Also, the more you talk, look, it's just talking more, not quality. From ages 0 to 3, these kids had higher academic success at ages 9 and 10. You may not. There are differences in language skills between groups of children who have high volume parent talk and those who do not. It seems that talking to and with your child actually matters before the age of 3. So if you have a babysitter who's just too busy to talk to your child because you're at work, that's not really that good for your child's language skills, and it's not good for your child's academic skills as well. Now, let's put in a waiver here. Just because you talk to your child doesn't mean that your child will have good language. There are plenty of parents who talk to their children, who gave their children great stimulation, and they'll come to me and say, "What did I do wrong?" You did absolutely nothing wrong. It's just that some children's brains are wired differently. And some children will have language impairment in spite of having excellent parents who talk to their child, who gave them great, wonderful, positive stimulation. So if your child turns out to have a language delay or a speech delay, it may not be the environment. All right? So I don't want you going and judging parents. So you want to be very, why do I say this? Because you want to be very careful about telling parents, do you have books in the house? Do you read to your children? Don't ask those kind of questions. What you want to just say is, we have found that, the more reading you do, the better it is. The more talking you do, the better it is. So whatever you're doing now, keep doing it, but let's add this. Let's just add it a little bit more. Let's do a little more reading. Let's do a little more talking. Whatever you're doing now, let's just do a little more, because the child is doing okay, but he needs a little more help. So there you go. But now remember, Susan, remember class, that this innate ability that we have is very strong. And there are children who come from environments where people don't speak to them a lot. There are children who come from environments that are highly stressed, and they don't have language problems. They don't have speech problems. They're very eloquent speakers. Now, they may not speak standard English, but they're not language impaired. They're not speech impaired. Okay, so we have to separate classism, it's like certain class income levels versus language impairment is a big difference there. And the language impaired child, generally they're language impaired not because of their environment. They're language impaired because their brain has been wired a little differently. Okay? So this innateness is very strong. However, if you talk to your child, the chances of them having higher language abilities, she's not talking about language impairment, she's just talking about higher language abilities. These other children will be normal, but their language abilities just won't be as high as children whose parents talk to them a lot. I want you to make sure you see the difference. There's still a normal spectrum. And you have parents who talk to children and parents who don't. But the parents who don't, the children are still normal. And the parents who do, the children are normal, but they have higher language abilities, higher vocabulary. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? All right. Nobody said yes, but I'm going to take the silence as a yes. Oh, I want to remind you of this. So I brought this back in. I want to remind you that the framework for speech perception, because this is important for it in learning language. I just want to remind you that they attend to speech. They're attending to your speech. They're discriminating. They're remembering a sequence of speech sounds. They're discriminating between the sequences of speech sounds. Why do they have to do that? They have to discriminate between the sequences of speech sounds because they have to know when a word begins and when a word ends, right? How you're able to understand English because you know my separation of words. But if I'm speaking, I'm speaking like that, you don't know when one word begins and one word ends. So a child has to understand that. They can be happening. Oh yes, Colleen, they are happening simultaneously. Just think how long it will be to learn speech. Even though it's happening simultaneously, sometimes a child will have a weakness here, but that they may be okay with discriminating between the sequencing of sounds when a word is a word, when a word ends and begins. But they may have problems discriminating between speech sounds. So they could have problems in one of the areas. So you may have a child that have an artic problem, but they know it's a word. They know the separation of words, but they may get the sounds mixed up. But yes, a lot of these things are happening parallel and serial at the same time. You know, at the same time, or in some of it is happening one after the other. It's the combination, integration of things happening. You know, even as we speak, our sounds are sequenced, but we are processing how to say it at the same time and what to say at the same time. It's hard to explain. Okay. All right, receptive language. Phonotactic rules, I've already given you this word earlier. So rules that specify which sounds can occur in a sequence. I'm just repeating CVC, CCC, VC, CVCC. Give me an example of a CVCC word. Oh, very good. Example of a CCC-VC word. Very good. Lock, must, strap. Oh, very good. Strap, very good. All right. So if I ask you that on the test, that'll be easy. Okay, now let's talk about language and how it's divided up. It's divided up into two components, receptive language and expressive language. So let's talk a little bit about receptive language. Now, some people believe that receptive language develops first. Receptive language is the understanding of what is being said, the taking in of vocabulary words, of listening, following directions. So people who talk a lot to your kids, they use about 20,000 words a day. And so a child has to really do something that they call fast mapping. Fast mapping is a mental process in which a new word is learned after only one exposure. And sometimes, maybe some kids, it takes 3 exposures. My daughter, it took 3, my first daughter. My niece, it took 1 exposure, and she had that word down. So this is called fast mapping. Kids who are language impaired have problems with fast mapping, even if they have high talker parents. But normal children with high talker parents, they hear 20,000 words a day. 20,000 words per day. I just want to emphasize how that's big, that's huge. Okay. Low talker parents, I don't know. I'm probably a low talker parent, I don't know. Fast mapping, again, you need to know this word. Okay. This is how kids learn words, through fast mapping. They listen to auditory cues. That would be like, you know, the features of the sound. Like an S is strident, you know, it's continuous, a continuous flow of air, right? A B is stopping of air, right? It's a stop. It's short duration. An S has long duration. All of these are cues. These are cues to the child. That's an S. That's a B. You see what I'm saying? Those are cues. My tongue is in the back of my mouth for the K. The tongue is in the front of the mouth for the S. All these are cues. Then he has to build up a phonological representation. A phonological representation is what are all the features that make up a word. You know, what are the, you know, what makes up the word, let me think of a word that's easy. Cat. Well, you got two stops and there's short duration. Then you have this vowel with its features. And I'm not going to go too much into that because you haven't had phonetics, some of you. This is some of this is your first course. So this phonological representation of what cat is so all of that representation has to go into memory. First your working memory, then to short-term memory, and then to long-term memory. All right? And then you have to comprehend, understand what is a cat. What is it? Understand the word. So, and the child uses fast mapping, which means that after one exposure to a cat, the word cat, or two, they got the word cat. And, you know, and an exposure may mean you see the cat once, but the parent is saying it several times. Look at the cat. Oh, the cat meow. The cat is so soft. You want to touch the cat? Be careful. Don't hurt the cat. Oh, my. Put the cat down. Oh, put the cat down. Oh, look at the kitty. You know, whatever word you're using. And then so the child begins to have word comprehension. So fast mapping explains vocabulary spurts. So the child will have, you know, be silent, and then all of a sudden he understands lots of words at one time. Okay? So that's receptive language. These are some things. They're probably total words. It's probably not 20,000. I cannot imagine a researcher going through and counting all the unique words. But I think in your book, it's just the total words per day, and some of those will be redundant. How can you assist the child in fast mapping? Well, high use words. High use words are words that they hear over and over again because we use them over and over again. Bottle, mama, shoe, sock, shirt, milk, cookie, trying to think, dog, if there's a ball. We like to give our babies balls, bubbles, eat. All of those are high use words. Potty. No. Oh, here's one. No. I mean, babies. I mean, that's one of the first words out of my mouth. No. That's because they hear no. So much. Stop it. You know, we say that all the time to our kids. Stop it. The next thing I know, I hear top it. So those are high use words. High density phonological neighborhood. Look at these words. You know, we have to sound so important. Versus low density phonological neighborhoods. So high density neighborhoods, high density phonological neighborhoods are your similar words like lower, door, store. Low density are dissimilar words. So you see you have many more sounds to think about. Aluminum, celebrity. Here they're so similar. Floor, door, store sound kind of similar, so these words are in the same neighborhood. Okay, meaningful relationships. The child learned through meaningful relationships. They learned that, oh, fruits. There are different kinds of fruits, so they categorize. There are different kinds of animals. There are different kinds of foods, so they learn words, vocabulary through relationships. So this helps to assist fast mapping. So high frequency words help with fast mapping. High density words that sound similar, helps the child to fast map. So rhyming. That's why those Dr. Seuss books are so interesting to kids, because that's how they can pick up words, because it helps them. It's easier for them because they use the same words frequent. They do rhyming, so there's high density, and then they also give meaning to the words by using them with pictures and over again. And so being able to categorize helps a child. So, oh, that's an animal. You know, we'll put it in the animal category. That's a fruit, put it in the fruit category. And that helps with the child to understand words. Receptive language is understanding. There are three perspectives as to how children learn receptive language, get to understand words, rather. And one perspective would be the semantic feature hypothesis. So then looking at the object, looking at the features of the object. It's red. You have a red ball. It's red, it's round. Okay? Maybe it has, you know, pictures on it, on the ball, I don't know, like flowers or something, or rainbows on the ball. So it's the semantic features. I see a cup. It has handles. It has an opening. It's green. It has two handles versus one handle. That would be your semantic feature hypothesis, looking at the perceptual features. The functional core hypothesis, looking at how the object is used. A ball, I throw it, I bounce it, I kick it. Functional core hypothesis. Prototype hypothesis. Oh, this is, you experience something. So let's take the word ball. You experience the ball, and the child takes there's a round ball, experiences the ball, and then there is a football that is more oblong shaped, and he begins to look at the shape as a thing, like a prototype. So all of these things together, even though they got different shapes, different features, seems like I do the same thing with it. So this must be a ball, even though it's different. So that's the prototype hypothesis. They form a model for comparison. All right. Oh, I thought I had another one on this. This is all I have for you. I can tell you this. These are important to me. I like these hypotheses for learning words. So this is for receptive language. Understanding words. This is the understanding of words. Okay. Auditory comprehension. Now we get into expressive language. We have, hold on, let me see how fast I'm going. Oh gosh, I'm just going so slow. Pre-linguistic vocalizations. We've gone over some of this earlier. Your book gives a general development, I think in chapter 4 or something, and then they do 0 to 2 development, and then they kind of repeat what they did in general development. So pre-linguistic vocalizations is what the child does. It's expressive. Pre-linguistic. So they're going to do some marginal babbling, reduplicated babbling. Reduplicated babbling is like pop, putta, No, pa, 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 da, 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 da. They're repeating the same syllable. Pa, 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 da, 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 ba, 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 ba. Now the marginal babbling has to do with, it's like, it's not a clear ba. The vowel is so clear and strong in reduplicated babbling. In marginal babbling, it's kind of distorted a little bit. Na, ba, na, 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 da, sha, na, something like that. But when you hear reduplicated babbling, it's da, 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 ba, 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 ba. I mean, it's just clear and loud. They're enjoying themselves. And that's about 6 to 8 months, reduplicated babbling. And then between 8 to 12 months, you get these, this echolalia coming in, where they're babbling similar to the adult. They're trying to say something to the adult, and it may not really be a word for the child, but the adult may interpret it as a word. Say, daddy, daddy. Child says, da, 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 but it may not really mean daddy to the child. But he's trying to imitate you, so that's really good. And you're looking at your face. 8 months is such a cute age. Oh, my God, I wish I could just go back. I just love that age. Okay, anyway, and then you have variegated babbling. Now, variegated babbling is when you use 2 different consonants. So they go bada, bada, badaga, badaga, bada, daga, daga, that type of thing. And usually it's BDG. I can't explain why, but it is. They like BDG. Then you have jargon babbling. Jargon babbling sounds like they're trying to talk to you. You said, oh my God, they're trying to carry on a conversation, but I don't know what they're saying. And vocables, or proto-words, are actually, that may happen at 12 months, but it's like, it's not a real word, but it's a word, but it has meaning to the child. So it's like, it's not matching the adult target. You know, let's just say pacifier. And my child at about 12 months, well, no, it was more like 16 months for her, but anyway, that's another story. But the child may say, pawa, pawa, wawa, pawa, meaning pacifier, but it's not adult-like or not. It's not pasa, pasa, that type of thing. It might be wawa, but you know they want their pacifier. So those are called proto-words or vocables. And it may be, it's unique to each child. It doesn't really match the adult version. Oh, jargon babbling. How you distinguish jargon babbling from the other babbling is it has melodic patterns and it's adult-like. It's very entertaining. It is not language. Proto-words. These are phonetically consistent forms, phonetically consistent for the child. So he may say e, or e. No, this might be e, to mean I want, whatever. E, I want, whatever. So they call them proto-words because it doesn't really match the adult version. When it begins to match what the adult is trying to say, even if it's a poor match, like if water is wawa, that's a word, we count that as a word. Daddy is dada, even though, I mean, if he's actually meaning daddy and not everybody is dada, then it's a word, and it's counted as a word. Prior to that, it is a babble. Mama, when they're actually looking at mama, then it is a word. So there you go. So they decided that children have speech acts. And remember, speech acts are pragmatics. So speech acts would be pragmatics. This would be the communication function. You have prelocutionary, illocutionary, and locutionary. In the prelocutionary, from 0 to 8 months, they don't think that the child is doing anything intentional, Brad. Nothing intentional. They're just responding to the environment in a reflexive manner. Now, you can disagree with that. I mean, these are just people with their own theories. But the communicative speech acts, and this would be Dorr, I think, that came up with these pre-locutionary, illocutionary, locutionary stages. That from 0 to 8 months, that any response to the environment is more reflexive. It's just something that they do automatic. It's without the baby really doing it on their own. It kind of, the body just reacts to the environment in this way. Illocutionary, I kind of disagree. I think my daughter was very responsive. I think it was an intentional response, at least up until, 6 months, about 6 months. I think my daughter was early on this. Illocutionary stage, 8 to 12 months. 8 months for sure is intention. The pointing, the hand pointing, like reaching for things with the hand pointing. They may not finger point, they may hand point. Intentional communication using the gestures. She really started doing, becoming a little better with trying to sign at about 10 months. So 8 to 12 months. And that's the illocutionary stage. And the locutionary stage would be 12 months. So this is word production. Now the key here for you to remember is anything that deals with word production, almost everybody will say 12 months. That's the average. But a child can start earlier than 12 months, 10 to 14 months. Is still within a normal range for first word production. 10 months is really early, but 12 months is the average. Okay. So do I want you to remember these stages? Yes. Pre-locutionary stage, responding to the environment in a reflexive manner. Illocutionary stage, the beginning of intentional communication. I want you to think 8 months. And then locutionary stage, I want you to think 12 months. So that would only leave pre-locutionary stages up to 8 months. That's how I remembered it. All right. And locution means words, so locution, first words. All right. I hope that helps you. All of this is under the framework of pragmatics, the use of language, the function of language. How does language function? Pragmatics. Speech acts would be pragmatics. Okay. Then your book goes into talking about gesture development and intent. What time is it? I got to end. I'm tired. Let me see where I want to stop for your test. Oh God, I want it to end. Oh, shucks. I think I have some of this on the test. I want to end at nameless of utterance because we've already done that. So I'm going to end right here at early stage 1. So let me hurry up. Okay, it's only about 8 more. Okay, datic. Datic gestures is when the child calls attention to by reaching, pointing, and waving. Like here it is, that's datic. Here it is, he reaches, pointing, points, and waves. That's an early gestural development prior to 12 months. I'm not going to, it's too many ages, and I just don't think that's fair. Representational gestures, like waving goodbye. This is a little older, pretending to eat with a spoon, much older, and when I think much, after first words, after 12 months. Signifies features of an object or its function. So representational gestures, waving instead of saying goodbye. Waving represents goodbye. All waving represents hi. Pretending, let's see. There you go, high five or fist bump. That's right. That's right. You can teach them the modern things. Okay, when do they learn imitation? They start as early as 6 months. Well, probably earlier than 6 months, but I started in your book at 6 months. 6 months, imitate your bodily movements and your facial expressions. 6 months. 9 months, deferred imitation on simple actions on objects. Simple actions on objects, like if you give them, what is it, something to, and they, a rattle, whatever, or some toy, and they do it the way that you showed them how to do it. 9 to 10 months will produce novel and combined action sequences. They will, I'm trying to think. maybe pick up the spoon and put it in the bowl. That's a combined action sequence. Pick up the spoon and put it in the bowl. Put the spoon in the bowl and take it to their mouth. That's a combined action sequence. Gestural development and the pragmatics behind it. So a lot of people, why do they do gestural development? Because children many times will develop gestures prior to developing words. And so the researchers wanted to learn about gesture development and its function. So gesture, they look at it more as pragmatics. And so they decided that the communicated functions of gestures, using gestures that have an immediate effect on others. So they felt that gestures showed a similar development, a similar function as words. So if a child points to an object, it is a proto-declarative, meaning it is the beginning of a declarative statement. So it's like naming. Naming is a declarative. So cat. So pointing before saying what it is proto-declarative. So if they can point, they have the receptive ability to name, to understand the name of an object. I said receptive. So they have if they can point to an object, then they have the receptive ability to know the name of that object. So you would know then, okay, let's teach them, let's see if they can point to words that I say. So pointing is key for me, that the child can point. Those are some of the things I always ask my parents with kids who are delayed, right? Okay, proto-imperative is when the child points to manipulate the behaviors of others. So here, they want you to go get something, Susan. So pointing toward the bottle may also tell the function is, get me the bottle. So it can have several meanings. Pointing could be declarative as well as imperative. Shaking the child shaking their head, meaning no, is proto-imperative. So it's letting you know that the child has gestural communication, and it follows a developmental pattern as relating to words. So I always tell parents, when they say my child isn't speaking, I said, but gosh, let's look at how well he is communicating through his pointing, through his head shaking or nodding, through his eye contact. And those are all positive. That lets you know that the child's cognitive skills are decent, are pretty good, even though he doesn't do well on a test. Okay, another pragmatic kind of skill is presupposition. Here, the child assumes that the speaker, assumption the speaker makes about the listener's prior knowledge. Okay, the child assumes that you understand the context of what it is that he's talking about, that you have the prior knowledge. The child says go while pushing the car. The child presupposes that the listener knows that he has a car, but does not know what he is about to do with the car. So the child doesn't say, car go. You see what I'm saying? The child says, go. This is presupposition. So here, you may say, well, the child doesn't understand the noun. But according to Dorr and Halliday, a child does understand presupposition. So just because a child just says go, he thinks that he doesn't have to say car go, because you're looking at the car as he's pushing it, right? So why does he have to tell you that this is a car? But he may have to say, I'm making it go. because you're not sure that that's what his intent is, but you know the name of the object. So that is the word presupposition. So how would you know, as a speech pathologist, how would you know that the child does know that this is a car, that he knows the word car? How could you figure that out? If he just says go, yeah, earlier on you can say, get the car out of the, I used to put objects in a bag. Let's suppose he's playing with the objects. And I said, I want to play a game with you. Well, a lot of things can go, Brad. I want to play a game with you. And I have a treasure chest. And then he's playing with the toys. And then I will take out the toys. I said, we're going to put them in the chest. And I say, I'm going to lock them up with the key. And I have my little key to the treasure chest. And I said, oh my gosh, now, would you like to open the chest? And then he would take the key and opens the chest. And I said, no, we got to get them out one at a time. Could you get me out the car? Pull out the car, just the car now, only the car. And he pulls out the car. And I said, pull out the bubbles, just the bubbles. Pull out the bubbles, put that over there. Pull out the, I'm trying to think, what are the toy? Hammer. Gosh, I have to go back to therapy. I can't think of all the things I used to do. I used to have so many games with kids. And that's how I know. And then when he just says go, I know that this child knows car. But for normal children, we know they know the word car, but they may not say the word car. But if a child is referred to you, the parent only brings the child to you because the parent suspects there's a problem. So you would have to test for the child who is coming to you that he knows car. But for the normal child, the presupposition is, I don't have to say car. Because you see me pushing a car, that's crazy for me to have to say car, right? So he's just going to say, go, go, go. Now, we as speech pathologists, for children who are language delayed, we say, car, go, car, go. Because the language delayed child, we don't know that they got this understanding of presupposition. And if a child has presupposition, then generally a child is able to do the pragmatic function of turn taking. That you do something, I do something. You understand something, and I understand something back. Turn taking. So here's a review. At 12 months, these are the ages, 12 months, 18 months. 12 months, first meaningful words. By 18 months, the child should be able to do 50 expressive words, but should have more in receptive language. Now, these are normal children. And let's suppose a parent comes to you and the child is 18 months. He says, I think my child only can say expressive words, that's expressive, can only say like 10. Then you check yourself and see if they have many words. Give the parent some ideas to do at home. Then have the child come back at about 24 months. And then see what's going on. But 50 words is what normal children have at 18 months. First words they usually have are nouns. Not surprising, right? Because we generally name things to our children. They will have some verbs. Children who do the, somebody help me, my working memory isn't working. My long-term memory, I know it's semantic feature analysis, functional analysis, I think it was functional analysis and prototype. The kids who like to do the functional analysis of learning vocabulary, they'll do more verbs than children who do the semantic feature hypothesis. I guess this is functional hypothesis. Semantic feature hypothesis, they'll do more nouns. All right, so the first words are naming, requesting, demanding, and expressing emotion. So the first words usually are names, naming things, requesting and demanding things, and expressing emotion. Those are usually the first words. Now, after they get to 12 months and they're in the toddler stage, okay, let's go about 12 to 24 months, so this next year coming up, their first words, as I said, objects, nouns, toys, specifically toys, foods, social greetings, hi and bye, and then simple actions, eat, you know, that type of thing. Kiss. A lot of them will say kiss. I love you, love you, love you. Here are the forms: CV, VC, CV, CV. Why not CVC? Why not this? Anybody? Because generally they focus in on the first two, and the last consonant is quiet, and it's not salient, it's not dominant, it's not salient, and they will remember they have short-term memory. Short working memories, and they're listening for those cues. And many times, you know, when let's say we say cat. You know, cat. The one that is the most obvious is the first consonant and then the vowel. And then we kind of go down on the last consonant. So they don't hear the cues as well for the final consonants. So they drop this C. And so they'll reduplicate. They'll say cat, cat, kitty. You know, they'll say little things like that. But they da, da. That's how that goes. Ba, ba. First words they're very close to the adult form, phonetic form, and syllables. Like bottle has 2 syllables, they go ba-ba. 3-syllable words, they're going to drop a syllable, and it's going to be 2 syllables. 1 and 2 syllables, and they will have consistent meaning in their first words. So limited phonetic forms. It's going to be things that they are around most of the time, and they hear more frequently. The phonetic and syllable approximation will sound like the adult. They'll be very close to the adult form. And they limit it to 1 and 2 syllables, their first words, not 3-syllable words. And they have consistent meaning. Okay. In the first word stage, between 12 and 18 months, there is an overlap of words, jargon, and babbling. So you're going to hear things you don't understand. So when you analyze the language, you want to look at the production of non-words too, you know, especially proto words, because the proto words are a transition to words. Although a child may be using one word, he or she may be expressing many different meanings in that one word. Girls acquire their first words earlier than boys. I'm sorry, Brad. Some children use more nouns while others use more verbs. So it's all they're saying is there's variability in the production of words. But Brad, you all catch up. Brad, boys catch up. By the time you're school age, boys catch up. Boys are great too, Brad. But girls, yes, I like her. All right, so Halliday was pragmatic. Dorr came after Halliday and was also pragmatic. Halliday considered the adult perspective, kind of like Chomsky. And did the adult understand the communication? Was it successful? And Dora says it doesn't matter if the child's communication was successful. Was the child trying to communicate? That's all it was. Was the child trying to communicate? So we're going to look at Halliday versus Dora. Oh, I didn't make a copy of that. Oh, hold on. I didn't. I thought I did. I don't have my book with me, so I'm not going to go over that in detail. I don't have my book with me. I don't want to get up. It's in the other room. Isn't that awful? So I will try to take off Halliday and Dora off of your test. Okay. Bloom was semantics. Halliday and Dora are pragmatics. Bloom was semantics. I'm following your book. I really don't like the way it's organized, but this is the book I was given, and I just kept it. Bloom is semantics. I like Bloom. And I like Nelson even better, but Bloom started the semantic thing. Substantive, naming, and function words. She said if you look at a child's first vocabulary words, those first 50 words, I make y'all do this in graduate school, but I don't teach the course anymore in graduate school, so they don't get to do it. But the first 50 words, you have to analyze it semantically. And you name all of the objects are substantive. They go under the category of substantive and events. So an object would be a cat. Let me make sure. Cat, yes. Object, inanimate object, or any event that may occur that the child may name. And I don't know what a child may name with an event: a party, ball. Now, boom may be a relational word. Oh, fireworks. Oh, that's cute. But then that would be substantive if boom meant fireworks. So you would have to know that. Naming would be all the names of people. So not naming objects. It would just be the names of people. And function words would be understanding relationships of words. And like the word up would be a function word. Eat would be a function word. I think that's right. Nelson's is better. I like Nelson better than Bloom because I like this breakup better. You need to know what a nominal is. A nominal, because most speech pathologists, they use the word nominal. Nominal is a general and specific words to refer to an object, person, or animal. So nominals are nouns. Nouns. The, what is it? Common nouns and proper nouns, if that helps you better. That helped me. This is how I used to do it in graduate school. Okay, action words are verbs. Okay. Modifiers are adjectives. Quality or quantity. It could also be adverbs. Personal social words would be like hi, bye, those kinds of things. Thank you, please. Functional words, what, this, where, maybe in. So here, this is a semantic analysis, but Nelson uses more of a grammatical view than Bloom. So both of these are semantic analysis. Okay? So the only one I haven't gone over is your pragmatic analysis. And I will do that next week because I'm going to put the tables into the PowerPoint so I can show it to you. All right. And now you have your syntactic analysis. And you've already done that with your MLU morpheme and the calculations. So your syntactic analysis would be your MLU and your 14 grammatical morphemes. That's your syntactical analysis. A semantic analysis would be Bloom and Nelson. I like Nelson, so I'll probably ask you what is a nominal, what is an action word, that type of thing. Halliday versus Dorr would be your pragmatic analysis. I'm going to try my best to remember to take this part out. There will be some pragmatics on there on the test, which would be your perlocutionary, illocutionary, and locutionary. That's your pragmatics. That will be on your exam. But this part here, talking about Table 4 and 5 and Table 4 and 6 will not be on there. You will have to do a syntactic analysis, which will be an MLU. You will have to do a grammatical morpheme analysis, but it will be very short. I mean, you're not going to have 50 utterances. That's not what I mean. I may give you 5 sentences for your MLU, and then excuse me, and then you'll calculate the MLU, and then for your grammatical morphemes, I've already told you how I'll do that. Yeah, I liked the quiz last week, but it won't be 10. It'll be shorter. It may be 3 sentences. You know, it won't be long. I just want to know that you kind of know how to count. I just want to know you know how to divide. That's all that is. Stop, buddy. I'm almost done. Hey, Yana? Okay. Any questions? I'm going to let you go. Oh, I don't know. Let me look and see. He wants to go for a WALK. Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to reopen the same one. Do we need to know the states? What does that mean? The states. Hold on. I don't know what you mean by states. Oh, state. Oh, no. Oh, no. You won't ever. No. No, Susan. I think that's too much, don't you? Okay, now what was the question about the first one? Who is it? Oh. Now, if number 2 was a stutter or just a, hold on, Abby, or just a repeat. Hold on. It doesn't matter whether it's a stutter or a repeat. It's the same rule would apply. You got it? Hold on, let me see what she said. I am reopening it. So if you already did that, we're good to go. Yeah, I'm reopening it. So you'll get your same test. I'm gonna have you. I guess it'll let you go back into that test. I hope so. I'm gonna reopen that same one and extend the time, and I'm gonna put you can do 2 attempts. You see what I'm saying? But I've never done this before. It's not an emphasis. It's not an emphasis. I'm sorry. It's not an emphasis. Yeah, it's more of a repeat. Like I can't say that the child is stuttering, but he's repeating the same thing. It's a repeat. But it's not to repeat for an emphasis. That's fine. You can change all you want. Okay, so let me go in and do that. Okay, hold on. I can't tell you. It is a quiz, Bradley. Hold on, let me see. Number 7. Yes. Yes, I'll go ahead and give you that one. All right, so let me go make the changes. And so that's when I looked at some of your answers, I was like, uh-oh. So let me see, that's why I want to see the utterance, so that I can see, okay, where are they counting? And, you know, maybe I can make changes, you know, and improve this quiz for the next class. Okay, so I'm getting ready to make the changes now, but stay in the classroom so that I can know that what I've done worked, because I haven't really had to do this before. Okay, I got to make sure that you can get more than one attempt. I did, of course. Oh, I didn't really give you, I give you 120 minutes. I didn't really give you a time limit, 120 minutes. Okay, hold on. It says active. Okay, no restrictions. Okay, change the date. Today is July, oh, this is August. No wonder it's not right. Today is July 5th. What time is it? Let me change it. Oh, I want you to be able to get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and put the time right now. And the end time will be July 5th. I'll give you a little more time, but you shouldn't even take that long. Displaying calendar. All right, I'm going to put save right there. I think properties, I want you to make sure it lets you do it another attempt. Can somebody go in there and let me know if it's letting you in your same test? Allow, oh, grade item. Allow attempt to be set as graded and attempts, hold on. Let me add that. Okay, here it is. Allow 2 attempts. Save. Should do it now. Okay, now tell me. All righty. All right, so you're in. Redo it. All right. Were there any other questions? All I need for you to make is a 70. It won't show your answers. Will it let you go back into the first attempt? Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I can release the first attempt then. Hold on. Quiz 3, MLU, edit. Oh, hold on. No, I can't go to edit. Hold on. I got to go to grade. Let me go to grade. Grade. Attempt 1. Okay, now. Okay, hold on, let me do this. Publish. I'm quite sure what I'm doing. Let's see. Attempt 1, attempt 1, attempt 1, attempt 1, attempt 1, attempt 1. Okay. Attempt 1, attempt 1, attempt 1. Okay, save. All right, how about now? Will it let you go in? Will it let you see your first attempt? Hello, is anybody with me? Oh, I guess y'all are trying. Say, be patient. Ah, shucks. Okay, let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. There's something. Okay. I've never done this before, so you may have to just go in and redo. I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay, save and close. Okay, how can I do this? Okay, edit. Let me see if I change. I want you to, yes, whatever, how many morphemes are in number 1, you need to put that at the end. How many, number 2 has 7 morphemes. Number 3. Oh, look at Lauren. Lauren said, I'll help y'all out. Okay. Let's see if I do submission views. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to do this. See if I can do submission views. See if that helps. So you can at least see the first one, so you can see your answers. Oh, Mary, are you talking to me, Mary? Mary Winkin, did you got it? Oh, I did it. Whoa, I did it. I'm getting very computer savvy. And now can you still do your attempt 2? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know. Can you go in there? You can't change your attempt 1, can you? Can you change your attempt 1? No. But you can go in. All right. So there you go. All right. I will see y'all. I will get those to you tonight, or at least tomorrow. I might get too tired. And I will get those back to you. And I'll talk to you next week. And you'll have a test. That's right. The test will start Saturday. And did someone ask me for Monday? Was that this class? I can't remember. Did somebody ask me to keep it open to Monday? Okay, I will make the exception that it will end Monday night. Okay, you're welcome. Y'all make me laugh, so it's fine. This class is fun, so. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm leaving the classroom so you can talk